late 1940s in South Africa, the government carried out a strict racial segregation called apartheid. This system gave the whites more privileges and better jobs. On the other hand, the black community was frowned upon, prohibited from entering upper-class areas, and even massacred. However, after decades of oppression, they finally had enough. The black community formed a movement called the African National Party, or the ANP. Their main agenda was to stop the racial discrimination and bring back harmony to the country. The protagonist of the movie is Tim Jenkin, the whitest name of all, a white activist working for the ANP. He is heading to a crowded market with two large bags in his hands. He drops one of them near a trash can and the other one next to a car. Then he signals his accomplice Stephen Lee to initiate the plan. It turns out the bags contain explosives, which they plan to detonate right now. They immediately get to work and connect some wires inside the bag. As they walk away, two explosions occur, but they are harmless. However, hundreds of leaflets are scattered across the busy market. They contain propaganda messages against the apartheid government. Jenkin and Lee nervously try to flee the scene, but they are soon apprehended by the cops. Later, while awaiting prosecution, Jenkin's wife sneaks into the room and gives him some money, which he may require in prison. She then wishes him goodbye, promising to always stay by his side. Shortly after, Jenkin heads to the bathroom, hides his money inside a cigar case, and shoves it inside him. He is now ready to face whatever comes his way. Having cash on hand has got nothing on having cash in ass. At the court hearing, the judge berates Jenkin and Lee for apparently going against their own race. As a punishment, Jenkin is sentenced to 12 years in prison as he manufactured the bombs, while Lee, being an accomplice, is given 8 years. Being dumb pays off sometimes. In the next scene, the two are escorted to the notorious Pretoria Prison, which is exclusively made for white criminals. The warden receives them at the entrance and immediately labels them as traitors. Then he hands them over to a strict prison officer, Meneer. The two are then taken inside the prison, and Meneer explains the rules and regulations of the place. Jenkin carefully looks around and notices the automatic grill doors, multiple barred gates, and other security systems. The place looks impenetrable as Jenkin's ass. After a while, Meneer takes them to their respective cells, which are reinforced by a grill door, followed by a full metal door. That night, Jenkin is lost in his thoughts, and he barely gets any sleep. The next morning, during breakfast time, he wanders around the canteen hall until an old man named Dennis Goldberg pulls him aside. Dennis is a senior political activist who is also captured for protesting against the apartheid. Currently, he is serving 4 life sentences. Soon, Lee also joins them, and the three have an interesting conversation about their respective situations. Meanwhile, a French-Australian prisoner, Leonard, is seen eavesdropping on their conversation. In the day, during exercise time, Dennis briefs his new friends about the prison's layout. The walls are 32 feet high. The searchlights cover every inch of the yard. The barbed fences are razor sharp, and most importantly, there are snipers on the roof 24/7. In short, he advises them against trying to escape, as it is virtually impossible. Dennis also reveals that many have attempted a prison break in the past, but all have failed. After he leaves, Leonard approaches the two and mentions that Dennis is always discouraging new inmates from trying to escape. He, however, knows that it is very much possible. So, Leonard proposes to help them, and in exchange, he wants to be included in their plan. Later, Jenkin brings out the cigar case containing the money and sneaks it over to Dennis. The latter hides it inside some toothpaste, making sure it never falls into the wrong hands, and hopefully that toothpaste never falls into the wrong teeth. 23 days have passed by, and life has started becoming normal for the boys. That night, in his cell, Jenkin lights up a matchstick and looks through the keyhole in the grill gate, trying to find some flaw in it. Days pass by, and Jenkin becomes obsessed with finding a solution. Then,
one night it dawned on him, you start with what you know and work backwards. He has an idea. He uses paper to measure the keyhole and check its length. He wants to make wooden keys to open the doors. The next day, he shares this idea with Stephen and Leonard in the shower room. Leonard thinks the wooden key idea is nonsensical, but Stephen and Tim are sure it could work. They would get the wood from the workshop. Acting on the plan, Leonard creates a commotion in the cafeteria to get Meneer's attention. Tim carefully observes the shape of the key and later begins to draw it in his cell. He takes every opportunity to take a look at the key, whether it's during training or during their count, until he finally has a clear draft of it. Day 74. Tim steals sandpaper and wood from the workshop. He manages to hide them in his thermos, wrapped in cloth so they don't rattle. As Meneer checks the prisoners' thermoses one by one and Tim's turn comes, Meneer notices that he looks very stiff. His heart pounds as Meneer taps his thermos on the sink, but is relieved when he finds nothing suspicious. That same night, Tim works tirelessly on his first prototype. After some chiseling, his first key is ready. Tim tries it out and like a knife through butter, the gears turn and he opens the grilled door. However, there is one small problem, the all-metal door has no keyhole from inside the cell. That morning, Tim explains to Leonard and Stephen that they now need to make another key and also a way to open the door from the inside. After success with the first key, Leonard is fully on board. Tim takes every opportunity to observe the shape of the all-metal door key and eventually develops another wooden version. Day 100. While mopping the hallway, when there are no guards around, Leonard keeps watch and Tim tries out the key. It's not as smooth as the first one, so he chisels it a bit and successfully locks the door. The trio is thrilled with this fact. However, there is one small problem. He cannot reopen the door and even breaks off the key, leaving a piece stuck inside. Leonard signals that a guard is approaching. In the tense situation, Tim just manages to get part of the piece out before the big guard arrives. One crisis averted, but he could not push the lock back in. When it is time for the lock-in, Munir notices the lock sticking out, but pays no further attention to it and locks the door, to Tim's relief. It's the annual family prison visitation. Leonard's son comes to see him. Out of emotion, Leonard touches the glass and Munir takes this as an opportunity to interrupt the half-hour meeting and ends it. His son had brought him a handmade kite. This makes Leonard extremely frustrated. Day 142. Since the key worked, Stephen, Tim, and Leonard now discuss how to open the lock from their cell.
From the outside, Leonard suggests using a string, but the guys quickly dismiss it, saying it cannot be turned. After a while, Lee gazes at a broom, and an idea strikes his mind. He takes it outside and starts measuring the distance from the window to the door. It is just a few inches short. The following day, while Jenkin is at the workshop, he notices a sewing machine. He quickly goes to his cell and develops a similar mechanism, which he then attaches to the broom. That night, Jenkin places the wooden key on top of the broom and tries it out. The plan works. He successfully manages to open the gate. However, when he tries pulling it out, the key falls to the ground. This nearly gives Jenkin a heart attack, but he doesn't give up. He sticks a chewing gum on top of the broom and uses it to retrieve the key back to his cell. The next morning during lunchtime, he excitedly reveals to his friends how he managed to open both of the gates. Jenkin now wants to inspect the other areas of the prison so that they proceed to the next step. As all of this is happening, Dennis is keeping an eye on them. He again tells Jenkin to back out, but the latter has already made up his mind. Day 206. Some new walls have been constructed around the area, but the routine remains the same. Whenever out, the three boys try their best to inspect the surrounding areas. Jenkin even manages to strike up a deal with the janitor. He wants the construction map of the prison, and in exchange, he will provide soaps and cigarettes. The trade takes place at the dumpsters, and fortunately, Jenkin manages to conduct it without getting noticed. Day 296. He and Leonard make dummies in their bed before sneaking out of their respective cells at night. They carefully climb down the stairs until they reach another grill gate. Jenkin chose this night because the giant guard is on duty. Because of his extremely obese body, he is slow and lazy. Despite this, the boys are nervous. They are sweating profusely with each passing second. But luckily, they manage to open the gate just as the giant guard gets up from his seat. It is time for his night patrol. Hearing his footsteps, Jenkin and Leonard hide in the storeroom and barely manage to get the door closed. Once the giant is gone, they come out and continue with their plan. Jenkin manages to open one more door, but before he could try out another one, Lee coughs upstairs, signaling that the giant guard has finished his patrol. So, Jenkin and Leonard hide in the storeroom once again. On the way to his room, the guard notices the droplets of sweat on the floor, but he doesn't think much of it. After he leaves, the boys head back upstairs. Inside his cell, an excited Jenkin dismantles his keys in several pieces and puts them inside his cup. He then puts the cup in his he then goes to sleep, hopeful that he can escape and meet his beloved wife soon. The next morning, the warden enters the cell and wakes Jenkin up. The latter has slept past the morning alarm. Enraged, the warden asks him why he overslept, but Jenkin can only apologize. So, his cell is given a proper search. In the process, the cup on his shelf is knocked over, and all the wooden parts of the keys are revealed. The warden picks one of them up and angrily asks, "What is this?" Jenkin, who is frozen in fear, nervously says that he made it as a photo holder. Surprisingly, the warden buys it and leaves the room, but not before warning Jenkin to be more careful next time. That night, our genius protagonist has a panic attack, making it difficult for him to sleep. However, he narrates that every difficult situation teaches new things. So, from the next morning on, he starts hiding the keys in different areas of the prison, like inside the library, the canteen, and even the dumpster. One day, he and his friends also manage to steal civilian clothes from the laundry. All this while, Jenkin doesn't clean or brush his teeth, hoping that he would get an infection. A few weeks later, he does get one, and when Munir takes him to the doctor, he inspects the automatic gate. It is Christmas Eve, and the group has made all the necessary preparations. Inside a room, they disclose their elaborate plan to Dennis and his friends. They have made 39 keys of different shapes and sizes for the 15 doors that they have to pass. However, Dennis refuses to join them, claiming that even if they escape, they will have nowhere to go. Nonetheless, he returns the money to Jenkin, hidden inside a toothpaste roll. Later, the warden conducts a checkup of all the cells, including Jenkin's. He turns the entire entire place upside down.
In the evening, after all the officers have left, Tim, Stephen, and Leonard start to carry out their plan. Tim offers Dennis one last time to join them, but he refuses. They collect the keys, which are hidden in different areas of the prison, and change into civilian clothes. The big guard clogs the toilet and gets the plunger from the closet. He notices a twisted paper clip Leonard used to hold the closet door, but ignores it. The three make their way down the stairs, and when they hear footsteps, they hide in the closet but do not find the paper clip. They have no idea that the big guard is coming to the closet to put the plunger back. Just in time, Dennis smashes a light bulb in his cell, causing a short circuit. He calls out to the guard and distracts him. The trio is saved by the skin of their teeth and can continue their escape. They get all the keys they need in order and make their way through the doors as quickly as possible. Before they reach the last door, Leonard goes back and successfully opens the automatic door. Everything goes smoothly. The gate is wide open and they can see the street. It's beautiful. They hug each other and attempt to open the last door. That's when they realize that none of their keys work. Their dreams are shattered in an instant and Tim says they have to go back. They cannot go back. Leonard notices that the door frame is made of wood and using a screwdriver and a chisel, he tries to force the door open. He is loud and Tim is worried, but Leonard is determined. He manages to break it open and they sneak past the sniper. Confidently, they march out of the gate so as not to arouse suspicion. They find a taxi to take them out of Pretoria and laugh ecstatically, not believing they have made it. The next morning, Munir discovers that Tim, Stephen and Leonard have disappeared. Stunned and angry, he sounds the alarm and all the prisoners laugh. Tim, Stephen and Leonard reach London via Mozambique and Tanzania, where they continue to fight apartheid. Dennis was finally released 5 years later, in 1985. The end.